Hey, Bob Gardner here. If you're watching this video, you probably either stumbled on it by accident or have seen some of the stuff that I've been creating around emotional freedom and physical freedom for a long time now, and how your body is built for it. But I was sitting here, it's the sunset, I'm watching the sunset, and I started realizing just how much over the years that I've been working with people, and we're talking thousands of people, helping them out of all of these dire diagnoses, chronic pain like fibromyalgia, Epstein-Barr, Lyme disease, and stuff like that. We're talking depression, anxiety, addictions, PTSD, trauma, by using the body, using the breath, using movement. But I realized how much over these number of years that I've been doing this, that it's a little bit of a game that I have to navigate, because the psychology industry stands in a very different position than I do. And even though there's some things that they're doing that are wonderful and are helping people, they miss the boat a lot. And then there's the medical industry that is helping people, but miss the boat a lot on a lot of these chronic issues. And I'm not the only one saying this by any stretch of the imagination, but because of that game and because of the need to make sure that people understand the message and get it, I realized how much I end up not being able to say what I really see or really feel or really understand, because there's a lot of time spent dancing around, not wanting to hurt somebody's feelings or wanting to make sure that they understand, and not really being able to share what's there. So I figured from time to time, perhaps very frequently, perhaps in small doses, I'll come on and just share some things. And the first thing that's been on my mind recently is marketing itself. I'm kind of tired of it. I have been tired of it for a long time. And the more that I move and the more that I interact with a lot of these people that are out there as coaches helping, or out there as physicians helping, or out there as therapists helping, there's so much language that is only designed to grab attention. And I watch my children, and they're on video games, and they're seeing headlines, and they're clicking on YouTube, just like this video. And the headlines themselves are the first lie that we do. I currently am in a program studying more about the endocrine system, more about the body's metabolism, more about what hydration looks like and what health looks like. And I'm looking deep, like a really deep dive with some people who've done a lot of research. And yet a lot of times they make these claims with huge headlines. And then they give you some science, and they give their credentials after their name, and then they start to add in their personal opinion, instead of simply being honest and saying, like, this is what we have here, this is what the data seems to show, because no scientist worth their salt is going to say science has proven anything. And then they're going to say, well, that to me, what feels to me makes sense is this. Instead, they cloak their opinion and their metaphysical ideas and their philosophies about life inside of and behind their credentials and behind the science, as if the science actually says what it is that they say. And I'm tired of it. And I'm tired. I've looked back. Every time I see this, I look back at my own stuff and I go, where have I done this? Where have I masked some inadvertent subconscious worldview and imposed that upon what the actual observations are? And I keep trying to strip back the layers and just wanting to be honest and say, hey, look, guys, nobody really understands the human mind and body. Nobody really gets why they are the way they are, why they do the things they do. Nobody, not in any of the industries. But what we have found are things that seem to have worked, and we have no guarantee that they will work for everybody, but they seem to work, and we make up a whole lot of scientific reasoning behind that, so that we can prove to people that work, so that they'll get their head out of the way and test it out. But in the end, it's an experience that may not work for everybody. And there's no guarantee. I don't even have a guarantee for my life. People want money back guarantees all the time, like, oh, this will work for you or else your money back. I don't even have a guarantee for my life. I don't know if tomorrow I'll fall off the rails or have some kind of issue or return to an addictive lifestyle or anything like that. I don't know. All I have is day to day, I'm sitting here doing some things that just put my system into an incredible place, and then have changed the way that my nervous system interacts with reality, such that, like, I don't experience the life the same way. And by default, this wonderful effervescent well-being is inside my body. Do I know that that'll happen for everybody? No. Have I seen it happen hundreds of times? Yes. So I keep getting surprised many, many times that the things that I share with people are actually helping them. because I realize that every body is individual, every person is unique. And so when I get news of it, and we've been getting a lot of news recently from people who their life has totally changed, I go, wow, it's amazing that actually helped them. Like it helped me, but in their own way. And I feel like that's an honest way to live, an honest way to talk to people and say, look, these are experiences that we've seen help a lot of people. We have no guarantee if they'll help you, but they feel wonderful and they don't hurt to try out. They don't hurt to test. They're simple and easy. And if those experiences feel like they resonate with you, then come on and let's test it out and let's talk. But if they don't resonate with you, well then, live your life in a different way. If you want a different experience, you're going to have a different experience. And the kind of like make a headline and make something snappy so that people will click on your video or so that people will open your email because our attention is limited. And all that does is it tends to make a person distort what they have in their own life and all of the intricacies and nuances of their own life and boil it down to some categorical claim that isn't true at all, isn't an accurate description of everything, and then ask you to believe them and go on a journey with them. And then there's all this energy behind it, trying to prove that your initial claim was right when somewhere deep down we all know that it isn't. Somewhere deep down, anytime someone is telling you this is the truth and that's it, if you're offended because someone thinks differently, then that means that you're actually holding on to it for an emotional reason and not just because it's the truth. And so today, as I've been sitting here, like that's the first thing that I feel like I don't want to rail about, but because railing just makes me feel miserable. It doesn't actually help anything. But I feel like needs to be said that the marketing, that question all of it, question everything I've said, question everything anybody else has said. And I tell this to people all the time. Everybody who comes, like, quit trying to be me. You've got to be you. Like, that's what you were made for. And that's what you were made as. You can't be anything other than you. But if you do that well, some beautiful stuff happens. As far as I've seen. And get past all the thought processes and all the claims and all the marketing and all the propaganda that have made you believe that the world is something other than your own eyes and your own ears have told you. Most of us have been duped by authorities. I don't think maliciously. They want to help, a lot of them. Some of them don't, but a lot of them do. And they want to help, but they believe something. And then because we feel their care, we believe their words. And because they come with this love. And because of the love, we get manipulated into looking at the world that way. And then we have the same kind of emotional hangups that they did. Instead of trusting that our own eyes and ears can actually produce what we need in life. That with our own senses and without any extra inputs, we can actually discover something really profound about the way that life is. And it feels to me like one of the most profound things is that the world doesn't actually need to change. And that if a person feels like the world needs to change because something is wrong with the world, then they are operating out of selfishness. They're operating out of a need for the world to be different, for them to feel okay. But Bob, what if they see suffering in some place and they go, no, that needs to stop. Well, then they've identified with those people in some way. And they don't feel okay unless that suffering has ended. But Bob, what about human trafficking? I agree. I am working toward ending that, and I've put money behind that, and I've done some other things to help promote that. And at the same time, if I need it to end, like people are saying, like, well, the world needs to change, but does it? Like, everything is balanced. Like, at the same time that all of the murders and the rapes and the pillaging is happening, maybe not pillaging if we're out of pirate times, is happening in certain places, there's also lives being saved, and there are babies being born, and there are deep, intimate moments, and people coming together, and traumas being released, and all kinds of other stuff. And we myopically zero in on one part of the world, and we say, that has to change for me to be okay. The fact is, from what I can see, and I don't know if it's actually a fact because it's just from what I've seen, that the world is always changing. The people, events, thought processes, they're always evolving, changing all the time. And we can't help from happening. But at the same time, and we can work for it. We can work for change. We can work for things to change. But at the same time, if we're working for it because of some need, because I can't be okay if the world is the way it is, and if it never changed again, if I'm going to be unhappy, then that's the issue that I work with people on. That's the issue that I work with myself on. That's Because if that's where it's coming from, then all of my efforts to drive change in the world are selfish. They're motivated by a sense of self. They're motivated by a neediness and a dependence on outside circumstances for me to feel okay. And all of marketing and all of headlines are designed to do that, to make you and me feel like something out there is going to fulfill us. Something out there is going to make us happy. Something out there is going to make the world in such a way that we will finally be able to find fulfillment and joy and peace. All of that, fulfillment, joy, and peace, that's produced on the inside. It is not produced on the outside. And we have experiences and then we blame them for what we made inside ourselves, our happiness and our misery. And headlines and marketing are the first thing that have to, they get used, but just recognize that anytime I share a message, I'm doing my best to share it in a way that says, hey, I'm just living this great life and I've discovered some things and they're helping a lot of people. And if this is something you'd like to experience, come on down. But those can come across like what you have in your own life is not enough. And I don't believe that for a second. I don't feel that way. Like every person on the planet has this beautiful, mysterious plethora of possibilities inside of themselves, inside their environment. And who am I to say that my way of doing things is the right way? It is simply a way, and it is a way that has helped a lot of people, but each person has made it their own way. They're not living their life the way I am. They've just taken what I've shared and turned it and made it their own, and that's why it's working for them. And so as I'm sitting here kind of feeling into this and looking at all the things that I never got to say for a long time, I have just been frustrated by wanting to tell people there is nothing wrong with you. The fact that you can create misery and joy, both, means that your brain and your body are working fine. The fact that you can feel pain and pleasure means that your body and your brain are working absolutely fine. The fact that you're alive suggests that whatever it is that's keeping all of this stuff alive doesn't have an issue with you. And so if you would like to create a different kind of experience, well, I have some things that I've learned. But that doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It just means that if you desire a different kind of experience, then we can go about it in a slightly different way. There's some things that you might try. So as I'm sitting here kind of like mulling this over in the dying light of the day, I just feel like the thing that needs to be shared deep from inside myself, and maybe only to me, maybe I'll be the only person that ever sees this, but deep from inside myself, maybe the only person that ever sees this, is that like all the propaganda has to stop. And we have to be honest, both the people that are trying to help and the people that are seeking help. We have to stop pretending we're okay. We have to stop putting on a face for other people and stop marketing and using propaganda for a moment. It doesn't mean it's not useful to, like, you know, if you got to do social engagements or whatnot, if you don't necessarily tell everything to everyone, but at least be honest with ourselves and then let that seep out into our words and the way that we talk to other people. And that's me being uncomfortable with marketing. And so I'm sitting here in this place, not looking for someone to say #truth, but rather saying, like, there's a part of me that wants to change the world and grab it by the throat and say, it's not okay that marketers are doing this. And that itself is an indication that if I'm trying to change it on the outside, I'm feeling this on the inside, and I'm not okay with it, and I need to handle that first. If the world has to change for me to be okay, then I'm the one with the issue. Change this first. And I'm going to go do something right now to start to clear this out. But by all means, if you can be honest, that's what I'm working toward. More and more clarity and honesty. And maybe that means that all of the marketing headlines and all the titles of videos aren't all that snazzy. That's okay. I feel like that's valuable.